in the last 10 minutes, I want to introduce a new theme which has come about as a result of a review last year when we went to industry stakeholders and said, have we got the balance of our research program right, or are we missing something? And got a very strong message back saying, yeah, you really are missing low carbon climate resilient infrastructure. It's a growing issue, and we need to do something about that. So at the start of this year, we launched a new theme, and what I want to do, kind of look backwards because we haven't done much yet, really want to look forward to describe where we think we could add value to this issue, because a lot of people are looking at it, and Building Innovation Partnership doesn't want to duplicate it, wants to add to the effort that others around the country are doing. So just to give you a bit of a picture, we are looking at developing a portfolio of projects which deal with developing material strategies, strategies for producing, using and recycling or dumping materials, and trying to decarbonise that flow of the built environment, design strategies, how we might actually improve the carbon performance of buildings and horizontal infrastructure through design, and maybe using materials more efficiently, or looking at design life. There are a number of things I think that we can do to change the carbon footprints of our buildings infrastructure, and then asset management strategies. I will talk a little bit about the project that we have started, but before I do, just the three projects which I've shown there with the dotted boxes, we hope in the next few days to announce the launch of a new project which is developing a pathway or a roadmap to net zero carbon concrete for the New Zealand concrete industry by 2050. And we think that will be a very, very exciting development. So fingers crossed we'll be able to announce that very, very soon. The second project in that top arrow is what we call Pathways to Net Zero Carbon Free Waters Assets. There are a number of infrastructure service providers who are talking about trying to decarbonise their assets, and have got their own strategic objectives to do so. So we are talking with a number of free water asset suppliers, and hopefully we get a project around that in the near future. Just looking down the bottom, we also think there is a need to develop projects around how we verify the carbon footprint of our constructions, because it's one thing to design it, it's another thing to actually achieve it. And at the moment, there's very little in the way of verification. There are some tools out there which can be used. So we are looking to have a discussion with people interested about how we might use BIM for emissions verification. Can I just really emphasise that these are all industry-led, industry-driven projects, not projects driven myself or by my team. So we will just respond to people who have an interest. So this is really an invitation to connect and contact us if you're interested in these areas, or if you have an area in this space which you think we really need to be working this to support decarbonisation of our horizontal and vertical infrastructure. But we are in discussions with a project looking at BIM for emissions verification of a major highway, and with a bit of luck that will also come off. We are very aware that in 4 years we probably will only start developing strategies and pathways, and so at the moment that is really our focus. Can I just talk a little bit about the project that has just started, the Pathways to Net Zero Carbon Buildings and Communities? This project, which we're doing in partnership with brands as a funding partner and a number of other stakeholders, is really taking another look at how we decarbonise our residential communities in particular. And up to now, you know, when you start talking about decarbonising our assets, we tend to focus on buildings separately from transportation, and we think that in the future, what is really important is just decarbonising communities by looking at this whole thing as a system. And clearly with electric vehicles now being able to connect into the grid, and with distributed power generation through our photovoltaic arrays which are coming on board, it's time to actually take a systems approach to how we decarbonise not just homes or buildings, but communities. So we're going to have a look at 5 strategies, and we call these D strategies. So up to now, I guess most focus in the industry has been on improving building energy efficiency, and we will have another look at that. But we also think we need to have a good look at the electrification of building space water heating, the phasing out of gas, and what the impact that will be on our communities. Electrification of vehicles that we discussed, and digitalisation of buildings and electricity grids, better management of our systems. So where we're at the moment is we're just developing a modelling platform, which isn't a building model per se, it's an urban energy model or energy system model. A model that can look at buildings, vehicles, and not just one building and not just one vehicle, but multiple buildings and multiple vehicles, and model that urban system. Not whole cities, because I think it would be problematic, but at least our little communities. So we're in the middle of developing a modelling platform, and in the back of our mind, we're thinking, gosh, you know, this buzzword digital twin is knocking around the industry. So we are intentionally developing a modelling platform which can translate into a digital twin so that we can start giving effect to some of our aspirations around smart cities. So that's all I wanted to cover, just really introducing the whole area of theme 4. But if you've got any questions or comments, I'm more than welcome to take them.
60.
Sorry?
60. 60. Right. 30 space. Yeah, 60. Sustainability.
Yeah.
Are you linking yourself to Britain or Europe in this space? There's lots of work being done there.
The answer is where we can, we will bring expertise out to help us because they're ahead of us. So the answer is yes. We will try and link with international expertise, just like we have on all our projects, right? We're trying to accelerate this just as fast as we possibly can.
Good. Comes to Three Waters, I've been having some robust discussions, shall we say, with people. When looking at carbon emissions, it's always assumed your versus do nothing and no emissions. But in Three Waters, you cannot stop people producing urine or feces. So I've been arguing that our nitrous oxide emissions from the treatment plant, although they are big, they are less than the methane emissions from everyone having a pit in their backyard. How do you bring that into it?
I don't think I could give an answer that justifies the complexity of the question. But I think you have to take a systems approach. And what you're actually pointing to is saying, take a systems approach, look at put the system boundary wide enough so that you capture all the impacts and just don't focus on one little part of it. And I totally agree with that as a sentiment that we should look at a system, not an individual component. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
It's Zara from WSP. I look after our mechanical building services team here in Christchurch, and we do a lot in that space. And we already feel like we're somewhat behind the 8 ball. So I'm a little bit worried that this is really late, and we need to identify really urgently what we need to do for New Zealand. Because the wheels are spinning really quickly. We're already designing buildings looking at 2040, 2050, where we know our clients will pay a tax on those buildings. So for us, a big topic is the materials available to the industry, looking at products and how we're going to get them into the country to make buildings from a carbon footprint point of view. Sorry.
Well, in response, I share your sense of urgency
Yeah.
about the whole thing. You could argue that this project should have started 4 years ago. But it's funny how things change in 4 years. 4 years ago, there wasn't the urgency from Wellington and certainly not in industry. So I guess what we've got to try and do is accelerate this as fast as we possibly can. My concern is that we're investing in the wrong technologies and the wrong systems with our current way we're doing things. But guidance on what we should do differently and what the benefits of doing things differently are. So hopefully the output of this project will provide some evidence about, hey, if you go down this track in terms of designs, materials and technologies, this is the impact on carbon footprints and the costs. And that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, so are you going to look at materials as well and suppliers? And
Yes, embodied carbon and materials has to be part of the conversation. You can't just do operational carbon. So the answer is yes.
okay, good.
Sorry, compassion. Are you also considering?
Mike Lambos here again. Are you also considering non-asset solutions? So it's fine to look at low carbon materials, but if we take South Shore and Christchurch, we know it's people are going to have to leave it in 10 years, 20 years because it's going to be underwater. Maybe we should say, okay, those people are exempt from the KPIs for the infrastructure networks. We're just going to keep patching them up rather than put new assets in.
So you're heading into the climate resilient part of this thing, which we haven't really got going yet. But yeah, you make a very good point. Again, I just go back to say that it's a systems approach to this, and it's not just looking at a little part of the picture, but trying to take an urban systems approach to the solutions we've got to follow through on. I'm actually going to close this down.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to close this down? It is 3:30. I welcome further discussion because I know there's a lot of interest in this. So please feel free to contact me.